Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Get a Buzz with Art. I'm your host, Ron Episcopo, and this morning we have another great local Jacksonville artist with us, Miriam Crowe. Good morning, Miriam.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about printmaking, but we're going to start so our audience has a little knowledge of your background. How did you get involved with the arts?
When I was in college, I took some art classes, and one of them was printmaking, and absolutely fell in love with it many years ago.
What was it about printmaking that was
just the
exciting?
whole process of it. I actually went into education and became a guidance counselor and then a specialist working with special needs children.
Okay. So we're going to get into the process in a little bit, and it's not just as simple as taking a canvas and start drawing or painting on it.
Right.
Exactly. So the first thing I like to do, though, is take a look at your art. So this is a piece that you brought with you. Explain what this is, the inspiration, background.
Well, this is when I was visiting Edisto Island, I saw this particular tree and did some drawings of it and thought, oh, that would make a great printmaking activity. So this is actually the tree drawn on 4 copper plates.
So these are 4 separate plates.
That I put together and then drew the tree that I had seen on it. That it's printed, which we can talk about in a minute, and then it's ink washed on top of that after it's printed.
Wow.
And that gives the color.
So I would assume this is a difficult process because you have to line up those 4 plates.
A little bit. Basically, I just kind of put them together and started drawing
Excellent.
into the copper. Now, this particular one I drew straight into the copper. Sometimes they're etched and you draw through a ground, and the copper plate is then put in acid. And I do have an example of that.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. So after you have your idea, your inspiration for what you're going to execute, your next step is to start carving in copper.
Well, now this one, I put a ground on it.
Okay.
And then I actually drew through the ground and took the copper plate and then put it in acid, depending on how long it's in the acid, as to how deep that eats into the copper. To make a deeper, darker line, it would be in the copper longer.
Okay. So once you have the copper plate etched, the next process is?
Then you would clean it off and ink it. We put special printmaking ink, buff the plate, soak paper in water. The paper then is laid on top of it and run through, hand cranked through our printing press.
Wow. So if people aren't familiar with this process, I took an etching class, and if you want to develop muscles, try inking a copper plate.
Or even more than that, cranking it through, because you've got to have the pressure on to crank it through the press.
Yep.
So you need some muscles for that too.
So from this copper plate, we inked it, we put some wet paper on, you ran it through the press, and this is the finished product.
That's right.
And how many of these can you produce? Is there a limit?
Of an etching, you could probably get 100. The old masters got many. Sometimes you'll see them numbered even up in 500. So those can be printed and printed. This process, which is called dry point, where I actually drew straight into, back to using your muscles, carved right into the copper. Those will be more limited because it's causing a burr, and when the burr kind of is gone, the deep, rich lines go. So you can either work it some more or just print several. I would say maybe 10 would be a lot.
Okay. So if any of our audience would like to see more of your work, where can they find you?
Well, right now I have a show at Magnolia's Pub. It's on Edgewood. I have actually some watercolor, some charcoal, graphite also, but mainly it's printmaking, and as I've done here.
Excellent. So, all of you, if you'd like to see more of Miriam's work, run over to Magnolia Pub, have a beer, and take a look at this fine work of Miriam, and enjoy her etchings. So this is Ron Episcopo out with Get a Buzz with Art.